Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody from ACC Baltimore. Thanks for joining our webinar today on how to use LinkedIn to advance your career. I am happy to be here today with Chris Batts, who is the president of the Lion Group, a Kansas City-based legal recruiting firm. Chris and his team recruit for companies across the United States, and he is also the host of a legal executive podcast called the Law Firm Leadership Podcast, which you can find on almost all of your podcast channels. He has a background in public accounting, but he also has a passion for marketing and strategy, and has authored numerous articles and been quoted in various legal publications about the work that he does helping people get placed and about the legal community. The Lion Group is a member of the National Association of Legal Search Consultants and Sanford Rose Associates, which is the 9th largest US search firm. For those of you, many of you were on board with us last Friday. I hope you learned a lot then. I certainly took a look at my profile while we were on camera, or while he was talking, and determined that it had been some time since I'd updated, and there were many things that I could do to improve my profile, and I'm sure Chris has more and better tips which he is going to present to us today. So right now, I'd like to turn it over to Chris Batts. Thanks for being here with us, Chris, and we look forward to this session.
Thank you, Lynn. So appreciate the opportunity. So everyone, just please take a moment, and if you're not muted, go ahead and make sure you're muted, make sure video is off, and then top right-hand corner, make sure that it's on speaker view versus gallery view. All right, so we are gonna jump in. I'm gonna share my screen and make sure that this, okay. Okay. And actually, hold on, folks. We're gonna get this right. Okay, great. Okay. And Lynn, do you see my slide? I just want to make sure that this is correct. Hey, Lynn.
Yeah, I see your slides. I see your slides.
Okay, is it just one or two?
I see one slide.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, folks. Thanks for your patience. All right. Okay, so it's a pleasure to talk to you about leveraging LinkedIn to advance your career today. This is session 2 of a 3-part series. Session 1, we talked about your profile as it relates to principles and formatting. I hope you spent a little bit of time since last Friday to take a look at that and maybe have some practical application and ideas. What we're going to talk about today is in essence the LinkedIn algorithm and steps 2 through 4. So actually step number 1 is your LinkedIn profile. So we've already addressed step 1. I'm going to talk about steps 2 through 4 and how to basically allow your LinkedIn experience leverage the algorithm that's actually with LinkedIn itself. And there's a lot of ways and reasons why you would do that. And then just as a reminder, this Wednesday, I'm going to do a live session on helping you, each one of you, with your LinkedIn profile. If you are interested in me helping you with your LinkedIn profile live, please email me or let Lynn know. And I would love to work with you while others get to watch, in essence. Those who don't submit their profile, you'll still get the benefit from my kind of how I apply what I teach. And it'll also be just a live Q&A session too. So again, I'm a legal recruiter for over 10 years. I actually started out doing law partner placements, still do that, groups, new offices, do quite a bit of in-house recruiting around the United States. Did a general counsel placement this summer in spite of COVID. And I am the host of the Law Firm Leadership Podcast. It's really a conversation on or a conversation with legal executives from a high level. So general counsel, legal consultants, managing partners of large law firms, men and women. I have quite a bit of women on mine, a lot of diverse attorneys, and we're talking at a high level about the legal industry, specifically from like a corporate defense perspective. And so would love for you to subscribe to this, don't miss an episode, and glean and learn from your peers. So what are we going to learn today? So today is going to feel a bit of a water hose. I don't know if you felt like Friday was that way as well. So really encourage you to have a notepad if you can, and have your LinkedIn open if you'd like. But I'm going to show you how to get LinkedIn to work for you, how to have it work for you while you sleep, actually, and while you're working. It's pretty slick what you can do when you tap into the algorithm. So step number one was optimizing your profile, which we talked about on Friday. Step two is going to be growing your connections. We're going to talk about that philosophy and how. Step three is joining groups. I'll explain the value of that. And step number four is, what do you do with the home page? How do you interact with? How do you relate with everybody? And then at the end, we're going to have Q&A. Now, if you have questions, don't be afraid to submit those questions throughout this, and I will answer those at the end. So, we just mentioned that. If you'd like to submit yourself to be reviewed or to kind of for me to walk through live with you, my email address is chris@findthelions.com. Love to work with you. Last time I did this with the Chicago ACC, I had 4 people I was doing it live with. So would love to see that many if possible. So don't be shy if you'd like some live help and have others watch. Okay, so I want to set the stage for what is the goal of why be visible on LinkedIn. So I call it the 4 steps of visibility on LinkedIn. Some people call it the LinkedIn algorithm, but why learn this? And I want to tell you there's more than one reason. And it's really important for you to grasp this concept or these concepts. So first one, when we used to commute to our office, we no longer do that. We used to see that darn billboard every day, whether it was a jeweler or a PI attorney or a realtor or some event or a bank or a healthcare provider up there on a billboard advertising themselves. We go by it every day, and it kind of gets ingrained in your mind, and that's why big companies spend the bucks. Now, on LinkedIn, there's a lot more people on LinkedIn than there ever has been. And decision makers, executives, service professionals, it's the most powerful and popular business network and online community. I would suggest never investing in anything else besides LinkedIn when it comes to your career. So when you learn how to apply what I teach on the 4 steps of LinkedIn visibility, it creates a billboard effect for people who are on it. So I will show you how LinkedIn will start putting your LinkedIn profile in front of more and more people every day. And there's all kinds of ways LinkedIn does this. It's on the homepage, it's through messaging, it's through search results, it's through emails and their app. But when we tap into the LinkedIn algorithm, you become more visible by feeding that algorithm. And it creates this billboard effect to where maybe you weren't visible before, or people didn't see you often or hardly at all, you will become a lot more visible. And the idea is to be invisible, to be visible in front of the right people. So another reason is to be a thought leader and industry leader. That could happen through that news feed, and I'll show you what that might look like and why you could be that. And then ultimately, LinkedIn is a networking environment. It is to meet people. It is to take that conversation offline and get to know that person more. So I want to just drive this notion of why are we spending time today? It is to drive traffic to your LinkedIn profile, to drive visibility. It is to brand you as a thought leader. It is to take relationships off the platform and into real life, okay? So let me set the stage a little bit. So some of you may actually have a Facebook account. Some of you may not, maybe your parents do, or I think kids these days have kind of left that. But here's the thing. LinkedIn is not meant to be only for you, your closest friends, your colleagues, your schoolmates, and business networking buddies. It is not exclusive to them. When we network, the idea of networking is to be available to people and to get to know new people. But if we're saying, I will only, connect with people who I know and who I've met, that's actually not going to help you in this process of becoming visible. And so I tell people, don't be a connection snob. That doesn't mean you have to connect with everybody. Being that you're lawyers, you're probably being approached by a lot of people who want your business, whether it's law firms, whether it's wealth managers, whether it's maybe law firm or legal in-house vendors. You don't have to connect with all of them. Some of them could be very strategic though. So don't be a connection snob, and broaden your horizon for what you would consider connections for you. So as just an example, I have over 28,000 connections. You max your connection amount to 30,000. LinkedIn won't let you connect more than 30,000 people. And I connect with lots of people because I want to network with them. I want to build relationship, and I want to be visible. And the more connections you have, the more I feed the LinkedIn algorithm. So we don't treat LinkedIn like Facebook and Instagram, where it's meant to be close relationships of people we know, okay? So I asked the question, what if LinkedIn was a professional networking environment where the connections you made was a step towards your next exciting career opportunity? So it's rhetorical. Of course, that's what LinkedIn is, but I want to help increase that understanding in your life. And so what that means is, maybe you have 200 connections, maybe you have 400 connections, maybe you have 1,000 connections. I want you to consider 10xing the number of connections you have. So you've got 200, you need to go to 2,000. If you got 1,000, you should go to 10,000 connections. And I'm going to show you how to do that today, how to think about that, okay? So step number 2, so step number 1 was optimizing your profile to make it readable, understandable, and effective, which we talked about on Friday. Step number 2 we're talking about today is increase your first degree connections. This is going to feed the LinkedIn algorithm. And when you're trying to connect with people, LinkedIn says, oh, wow, you're trying to connect with these people. I'm going to continue putting you in front of these people. And it creates this visibility effect. And I'll explain that more, okay? So when it comes to growing your connections, it's important to have a plan. Let's assume one of you listening to me today says, I would really like my next opportunity somewhere in Baltimore. So what I would recommend for you to do is make that commitment that you want to find your next opportunity locally. You want to maybe even ask yourself what industry. Maybe you want to ask yourself what type of company, whether it's public, private, maybe size of revenue, headcount, things like that. And then you want to create an exhaustive list of those companies in Baltimore or in the surrounding neighborhoods and regions. And then, so what I'm actually giving you is a plan. And then I'd actually encourage you, send connection requests to the executives of those companies on your list. And what will happen is very powerful. If you do what I say in just this one step of step number 2, you will, so imagine sending 5 connection requests to a couple different executives in one company. LinkedIn automatically realizes you're trying to really connect with this company. And so they're going to continuously keep your profile in front of those types of executives and other executives who are connected to those executives in that company over a period of time. And especially if you do it with a number of different companies in a specific geographic region, LinkedIn immediately that action feeds the algorithm of LinkedIn, And it creates what I call the billboard effect. So they start seeing you over and over and over again. And that's a very powerful thing. So if you were just to follow this little step here, this little plan I have, identify, where you want your next opportunity to be, what industry. And it doesn't have to be industry, but you could go even that more specific. If you want to qualify the type of company, all of that kind of gives you the chance to create an exhaustive list of those companies. And then you start sending LinkedIn invite requests to those executives. And this alone will greatly increase your chances of being noticed for opportunities and being visible for decision makers, okay? So this is step 2. This isn't even like all the steps that I'm talking about. That alone will be very powerful for you. Okay, so on Friday, I mentioned that LinkedIn Help is a very useful tool, and they give lots of pragmatic ways to help you. And so if you're like, hey, how do I increase my LinkedIn connections? LinkedIn actually will show you exactly how to do that. So again, I want to redirect you guys as far as your time is concerned. If you're curious, listening to me is great, and I want to be as useful as I can. But the LinkedIn help section is immensely powerful. They're very pragmatic. It's not antiquated. They give you a lot of current information that's going to help you on the journey. So they will actually walk you through how to send invites and connect with people. And they're going to show you all the different ways you connect. You can invite people to connect from their individual profile. You can send invites from the search results page. There's a section called Grow Your Network, which is a page. There's My Network page, you can send invites. There's people you may know where you can send invites. You can upload connections from your devices or from your email accounts and sends out invites. It's very powerful. And I find most people kind of get frozen with fear about either too many choices or not knowing what to do. And you can be strategic, but simply growing your network is a very powerful thing that I recommend to everyone highly. And think of it in terms of 10xing your connections. So if you got 5,000, it probably won't be 10x, but go to 10,000, go to 20,000, 15,000, because growing your network is only going to benefit you. Okay. So you may or may not know this, but LinkedIn provides 3,000 free invites. And you can hit a threshold where if you've used all those invites, you probably will run out of invites, and you can get them back, which I'll show you how. But I'm just going to show you a note. So if you send an invite, sometimes it's a click of a button, sometimes you can add a note, but a note that I recommend is, hi Deb, I'm a firm believer one can never know too many good people. I definitely welcome the chance for an intro conversation if you're amenable. That is a simple way to kind of be inviting and willing to connect. And so there's a couple different points here, but the power of networking, getting to know people, we can always grow in those skills. I'm sure I've got some expert networkers listening to me right now or watching me, but we can never stop meeting really great people, and we can never stop learning how to add value in relationship when we're networking with others. So what I'm showing you right now is how to get more free LinkedIn invites. You can send invites that maybe were never accepted, and you can withdraw those invites and you get those free invites back. So there's, again, going back to the LinkedIn help section, you just type it in, withdraw an invitation. This will show you exactly how to do it, okay? All right, so I'm gonna continuously talk about what it means to feed the LinkedIn algorithm and how this drives up your visibility. So forgive me for reading, but I'm gonna just do that for you. Sending in LinkedIn invite connections is a powerful way to drive visibility. So LinkedIn will recognize you reaching out and increasing the visibility of your profile and content on their pages. And this includes in lots of ways: their homepage, My Network, My Company, and LinkedIn search. You become visible on those pages. And why do all this? So we've talked about this before. I mentioned it on Friday, and I'll mention it again today several times. Why bother doing all this? It's to drive traffic to your LinkedIn profile. And that's why your LinkedIn profile has to be up to date. That's why it has to be readable, and you want it to properly communicate who you are and what value you bring. So again, your LinkedIn profile should not just be about you being a human doing, but also you being a human being, meaning not just your skills and not just your accomplishments, but who you are every day when you show up. Putting some of that emotional intelligence into your language, talking about your personality, talking about how you serve others, talking about um, what motivates you or what excites you or what people have said about you. Um, because employers today hire not just people who can get stuff done, but they hire people who are fits for their culture, okay? And that's why you gotta have your profile up to date. So what is the goal of LinkedIn visibility? Again, I'm repeating myself, but it's just very important to get to the facts and the underlying reasons why we're doing this today is to drive traffic to your profile and to take the conversation offline. We're about networking, building relationships, and visibility. Open doors to future possibilities, future opportunities. And so when people come to your LinkedIn profile, and we'll get into this, you will have an option to see who's visited you. And you have a choice. You could be passive or you could be proactive. You could send an invite to that person who visited your profile if you're not connected. You could send a LinkedIn in-mail to them, or you could message them if you're already connected and start the conversation. So if you have a goal, and we're just going to call the goal your next opportunity, if you're job hunting or if you just like to network and it's important for your career to continue meeting new people that expand your network, which by the way is one of the most important, valuable exercises as a professional, opening up opportunities for you. Because recruiters are great, but we're only as good as our clients. And I am, I'm very big in empowering legal executives to not just be dependent on recruiters for their next opportunity, but to take that opportunity, take your career in your hands and build networks of relationships that could also open opportunities for you. Um, Again, with us at the Lion Group, we're very much givers, and I think legal executives should never be dependent on recruiters. I think you find yourself disappointed, and to really grab hold of what lays before you. So again, visibility drives traffic to your profile, and it provides opportunity for you to create conversation, to take it offline, and to network and build relationship. And opportunities come up because of that, okay? So what we just went through was some of the basic underlying principles of why you create connections on LinkedIn. Don't be a connection snob. Don't treat it like it's only people you've ever met or personally know or your closest friends. It's a networking environment. And many people who succeed in getting opportunities look at their network as their net worth, and that they're valuable contributors to people around them. They help people get connected, and they're valuable in relationship. So moving on, and that, again, that's step number 2 to LinkedIn visibility. Step number 3 is joining groups. So LinkedIn kind of continues to move around with groups a little bit. I've seen them make some changes. So I'm going to try to tell you what is current with LinkedIn groups. So when you join LinkedIn groups, you feed the algorithm. So when you join LinkedIn groups, it actually increases your visibility when they're searching for people. So if they're searching for you, if an agency is or an employer is looking for you, and they're in a group that you're in, you will become more visible in the search results. Another thing is when you join groups, and let's just say you join groups where those executives you're trying to connect with in companies, remember that list of companies we talked about, you actually want to join those groups where those executives are, say in Baltimore. And so there's all kinds of groups. And if you send invites to those executives, the fact that you're in the groups with them will continue to feed that algorithm that then continues to put your LinkedIn profile in front of them more often, okay? It's this whole notion of degrees of separation. And the closer you get to the people you're trying to connect with, whether by sending them invites, whether by connecting with people that are connected with them, or joining groups, you become more visible to those people, if that makes sense. Okay, so you can join up to 100 groups, which is a lot. And before joining groups, so there's all different types of groups. There's groups for industries, there's city-specific groups, there's trade groups, there's school-related and alumni-related groups, there's professional networking groups. And so how do you find or join a group? Well, again, LinkedIn Help is super helpful, and they will show you exactly how to do that. So again, I'm a big advocate of empowering you to get answers, and LinkedIn Help is super helpful. So encourage you to kind of put that as a list on your to-do thing on your list. So what are the different types of groups? I mentioned a couple. There's associations. You're a part of one right now we're talking to, industry related, school related, general networking. Different types of executives have their own specific groups, vendor or company related. You can join groups that are specific to where your kids go to school, whether it's colleges, whether it's primary, high school, middle school, elementary school. Those are groups where maybe you have people who you know who are executives in companies, but their kids go to the school, and maybe your kids go to the same school. You could join that group, and it gives you visibility to those executives who also send kids to the same school you do. There's nonprofit groups or charities. Maybe you're on the board or you are a member of those organizations. Special interest, hobby, country club, which country clubs are meant for networking, mentor or peer groups, professional service groups, or coaching groups. All of these groups are where your future connections are, your future employers, future managers, maybe even some of your future colleagues are. And if there are companies that you would really like to work for, I challenge you to consider joining groups where those people are and find ways to become more visible to them. Because here's the thing I just want to drive home for you all is there's a lot of competition for jobs right now. There's a lot of really qualified attorneys. Why would you be selected over somebody else? Many times it's because of visibility. And it tends to be the people who are most visible or most connected or connected in relationship get introduced to these opportunities, whether they're publicly made opportunities or more private opportunities. So LinkedIn has a very powerful method of their algorithm that if you're wanting more opportunities to come to you to find out your market value or for you to explore, LinkedIn is very powerful to feed that. And sowing into LinkedIn will pay dividends for you, okay? So this is just another example of groups. I did a little bit of searching in Chicago because I did the Chicago ACC event for them as well. And it just kind of shows you, when you search for groups, you have to spell things exactly correct. And you can notice that you almost have to consider it by locale. So you'll have to play around with what groups pop up for certain search words. So I had to do Chicago legal, Chicago executives. You could probably do Baltimore or Maryland by region or industry related. But you can see there's different size groups. So this is an interesting one. Events for sure, connecting buyers and vendors in global legal industry. It's got 8,200 people in it. Another one, behind every leader, executive assistance conference. That popped up for Chicago executives, 18,000 members. So there are some groups that have over 1 million members, and then they have subgroups. So be intentional with strategy and join as many groups as you can that are relevant to raise your visibility and feed the algorithm for LinkedIn, okay? It's just one of those steps that is very valuable, okay? So I want to point out, groups have limits, LinkedIn has rules, okay? So you can manage groups, you can join up to 100 groups. Um, there's all kinds of interesting things on here. LinkedIn groups can have a maximum of 2 million members. Um, you can start your own group and you can use that for networking purposes or for, it's up to you, but it's interesting. There's rules, there's limits. So it's good to know that, and you can learn more about that by going to LinkedIn Help. Okay. So what have we talked about so far? We've talked about optimizing your profile, which is step one for LinkedIn visibility. We've talked about increasing your connections and not be a connection snob, but doing it strategically. That will expand your network to increase more opportunities for you. That's step number two. Step number three, join groups where your future colleagues and your future employers are. That'll allow you to be um, a closer degree, so a degree closer to them. And that all of this feeds into the LinkedIn algorithm that makes you more visible in all the areas where your profile is visible, and including the LinkedIn search, okay? So number four, that kind of brings this all together, is being active on the news feed. And some people like to, some people are terrified of it. And I want to encourage you today to maybe start building some courage and thinking about how you can participate and not just be a stalker, if you may. So, and you don't have to do all these things. You can do some of these things. And so I'm going to give you some ideas, and I'm going to tell you that some of these will be more effective than others. So you can post industry-related articles, whether it's like the ACC articles, whether it's an industry-related article versus an association-related article. Posting news pieces and articles that someone else wrote can kind of help brand you as as an expert and as a thought leader. Um, you can do that, or you can write those articles. You can have it published, or you can actually write it on the LinkedIn platform. They actually can allow you to publish your own articles on LinkedIn. Very powerful too, because if people grab a hold of that, it can go viral. And I'll show you a little bit about what that could look like. You can tag others, which I'm finding is extremely powerful. You can share someone's post, which is very powerful, and you can like or comment on someone else's post. All of these raise your visibility, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. You can be strategic about it, but it's very powerful when you interact on the news feed for visibility's sake, as you're being intentional. And again, the term I used at the beginning today was called the billboard effect. So I am teaching you exactly how to be visible in numbers of ways, in all the different ways on LinkedIn. I'm helping you see how the algorithm can take your LinkedIn profile and constantly put it in front of people's eyes. And I mentioned that kind of steps 1 through 3. And then today, with regards to number 4, being active on the news feed, I'm going to show you what happens when you like or comment on people's posts or write articles or post news, and how that makes you even more visible to people on LinkedIn. Okay. So here's an example. Fred Stratman, he's a lawyer. He's a client, and he is the general counsel of a long-term care health facility, multi-state. And he commented on someone else's, which is the CEO, co-founder of Telehealth Solution. And this is on my news feed. And what you get to see, or what I get to see, is that he just became visible to me because he commented or liked someone else's post. So his name pops up. And so I want to just show to you that this is how you can drive value to your other connections by sharing content that may be interesting to your connections. You can, or you can simply like something that makes you valuable or visible to other people. So this is, again, this is my connection. Because he liked it or commented, he commented on this. I get to see who this is, and it's speaking to COVID right now as it relates to the healthcare industry. And it keeps Fred front of mind for me. So billboard effect being front of mind, that's kind of how all this adds up. And as you do this more and more often, people are going to notice that and they're going to come to your LinkedIn profile. Who is this person? Or, I didn't realize this, but I think we need to talk. There's things that come in people's minds when they see you more often. Here's another example. This is an article I wrote. For each one of my podcast episodes, we release an article. It's sort of a teaser to drive people to my website, but I posted this, so you can see my name up here. This is the title we created. Stewart is a in-house career consultant. He works with law partners, but he also works with numerous, actually particularly female legal executives around the United States in in-house roles, but he works with lots of men as well. So I created an article. This brands me working with legal career consultants and experts. I get to publish my content that I produce for my podcast, and I get to engage my network by providing them value. And then you'll notice here, and this is old, but it had 146 views. I posted this on May 5th, 2020, and there was a couple likes there, okay? I want to show you the stats. So here's another thing. Because I did this, I get the opportunity to look at stats. So there was 10 reshares. People really liked it. 7 people from Honeywell took a look at it. My company did. We were checking it out. There's a couple different things. He's actually a part of a Trusted Advisors. There's a law firm. People with lawyer title, partner title. Looks like a lot of people in Atlanta were looking, in DC, Boston, New York. And it showed up, interesting enough, that article showed up in a Google search that someone clicked on. So you can publish content, your own articles in LinkedIn, and they can be found on Google if people were searching for the right words, which is, again, visibility, thought leadership. It's very powerful, okay? Now here's a tip. You can feature the articles you create on your LinkedIn profile. So here's my profile, and I featured, again, episode 40 on here. I also featured an article, something I wrote, and I'm kind of hosting a weekly happy hour. But when you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see these featured articles that I created. So I did a 2-part series with the General Counsel of Anheuser-Busch, and I put this up here so people can see and get to know Craig. He's got a phenomenal story, and as the Chief Legal Officer of Fortune 500, he's only 38 years old. And so there's a lot, I think he's 39, just turned 39, but he has a tremendous story. And so, and that's largely why I do the podcast, is let other people share their stories. So, but this is a tip. You can feature articles on your LinkedIn profile, okay? Now I'm gonna demonstrate tagging and viral posts, and you'll understand what I mean by viral. So, Bloomberg put out an article about a lawsuit between a headhunter and a law firm, Freshfields. And I tagged a bunch of my recruiter friends in here. And I said, you know, it's an important reminder for law firms recruiters to get the terms mutually agreed upon and contracts signed when fully engaging candidates. Would you agree? And so I put a question mark in there. And notice what happened. I had 28 comments. I had 16 interactions. And I had over 10,000 views from this. So recruiters are highly visible, or they're supposed to be. And I pulled in influencers. These are some of the more highly visible recruiters in the country in the legal space. And I know all of them. And so they were willing to jump in, and their networks became visible to my post. So it's self-serving, but you create this conversation, and I tag a bunch of people in, and they get to respond, and now this post becomes visible to a lot of people. Who did it become visible to? Well, here's the stats. 60 people at Latham Watkins, about 50 people at Kirkland Ellis, so a lot of law firms. DLA Piper, Paul Weiss, Goodwin, Sidley Austin. I mean, these are all top law firms in the United States. Almost 1,800 attorneys. 700 plus partners, and you get the idea. There's a bunch of recruiters, a bunch of different people. 1,600 people in New York City. I'm in Kansas City, and yet I had all this traction because I tagged in people, they liked and comment, and a lot of people got visible to this article. You can do this too, and I want to give you this idea. And you're like, Chris, why would I ever bother thinking of doing this? Well, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. It's because of visibility. Now, as a recruiter, I want to be visible. I want to be visible to you. I want to be visible to candidates and clients that are hiring. And I did. I got free advertising for doing that. Um, if you're looking for opportunities in the Baltimore market, you can be a thought influencer, a thought leader, and you can post articles and you can tag people and you can drive visibility in that market that serves the market with good content. And that's why you would do that. Okay. So I want to touch quickly on paying for premium. Many of you may be getting LinkedIn for free. I think it's very valuable to have premium because you get to measure and understand the traffic that's coming to your profile, who and how. So as you can see here, because I'm premium, I'm getting on average about 900 views. It's not daily. It's about every, gosh, is it 3 months? I think it's about every 3 months. And you can tell I'm showing up in a lot of search appearances. And post views, this is like like one post. So that varies on a per post basis, but paying for premium gives you statistics. So again, here we go. This is a 90-day perspective, 950 views, and it gives you stats and allows you to see more information. And if you want to leverage the platform of LinkedIn, you can pay for it and it gives you more data to make decisions with. So I could, for example, look at who's viewed my profile and I could engage some of these folks and connect, network, take the conversation offline, or take note of who's coming to my LinkedIn profile, okay? Provide statistics that you otherwise normally wouldn't have if you didn't pay for it. Other things to note, what to do with your traffic, okay? On your LinkedIn profile or on LinkedIn in general, you get these notifications, and notifications will tell you all kinds of stuff. Who's viewed your profile, someone wants to join a group. If you're managing a group, I've got a group. Engagements on posts you've made, birthdays. There's a lot of things you can do, and participating in LinkedIn will drive visibility. So I'm going to share a little tip that I do that most people will never do. I have a full-time virtual assistant that works for me in the Philippines, and he sends birthday wishes to all my connections every day. And in that birthday wish, it's a really kind message and it's a link to my podcast episode. And I think we all really appreciate when someone says happy birthday on our birthday. And that's one way I get to stay visible in front of my 28,000 plus people, okay? So taking initiative. You're on, who's viewed your profile, and you have a choice. You can either be passive and wait to see if they do something, or you can be proactive because you got a plan and you are, maybe committed to networking with 2 people every week, scheduling a phone call, doing a coffee, a Zoom meeting, and you may be more strategic on who you're going to reach out to. So on here, you can see Melissa, I'm not connected with, but I am connected with Denny. Actually, Denny is my recruiting assistant. I am connected with Nazal. I am connected with Mike Moore. And then also most of you know Ed Paulus. So, and we are connected now. So you can send an invite request. You can send a message. You would want to schedule a call or schedule a meeting and find ways to add value to the relationship. You can do that by helping them get connected, solve problems for them. You can do that by finding ways to be a resource for them in their journey, in their career. Learn what that means to be value add in relationship, okay? So I realize we've got 15 more minutes. I want to talk about action steps, and I realize this was probably a water hose for you, so you guys will have a chance to get these slides. So step number 1, increase your LinkedIn connections, send invites strategically with a plan. Action step number 2, join as many groups as you can. Strategically, think about that. 3, like or comment and post on your homepage. And then 4, observe who comes to your LinkedIn profile and decide your course of action. It's a powerful thing when you take initiative and build relationships strategically with people. And this doesn't have to be immensely time consuming. I suggest 10 minutes a day or an hour a week. That's all you need. You don't need any more than that. Okay, so I'm gonna got a couple more tips for you, and then we'll jump into Q&A. So I automate part of what I do, and whether I do it or I delegate it to my team, we schedule social media posts through Hootsuite that post to my LinkedIn company page and my personal page. You can do that too. I believe you can get Hootsuite for free. If you have more than one person managing your account, or if you have a person managing your account, you probably have to pay for it. I believe that's what works for me too. It's like 10 bucks a month. So I I schedule my posts. I schedule content related to my podcast, to who we are as legal recruiters. I make content useful, helpful, and I have people who simply follow me or connect with me because of the kind of content I send out, which is very much geared towards many of you. LinkedIn executives, or I'm sorry, legal executives, law partners. I tailor my content to make it super useful and helpful. So I use Hootsuite to do that because I'm not going to spend all day, you know, taking a link and posting it one each. I kind of automate this process and schedule it out. Here's another bonus. And I encourage you to write this down, and or you get the slide deck. But you can make your LinkedIn profile visible, and what I mean by that is you actually have to go into LinkedIn. You got to go into your privacy settings, and you'll see here you can change your URL. Most of your URLs have numbers and other weird stuff in it. Just try to make sure that it's relatable to who you are. I just make it my name. And then I want to make my LinkedIn profile searchable on Google because I want people to find me. And I recommend you doing the same. And you can do that based on certain levels of content on here. So this is another part of visibility, is allowing your LinkedIn profile to be search engine optimized by Google, okay? And this help page will show you exactly what to do. And again, you have all these options. Look here. You can have your photo. You don't have to have your photo. Headline, websites. And I highly recommend you make it all visible. You want to welcome opportunities and new opportunities for jobs, or to be on boards, or whatever it might be that could be an opportunity. You want to be visible, you want to be approachable, you want to be found. And so I highly recommend that. Okay. So next steps, update your LinkedIn profile, grow your LinkedIn connections, join groups, be active on LinkedIn. I hope today was helpful for you. We're not done, but I encourage you to submit questions now. I'd love to do that to help answer questions. I'm sure you guys got some. If you would like me to review your LinkedIn profile live on Wednesday, please email them to me, chris@findthelions.com. I would love to walk you through it, and I know it'll be super helpful. I really hope all of you join us on Wednesday, and those of you who feel courageous enough to do it, really would love to have 3 or 4 or 5 of those to go through, and just basically get free coaching from me live, and would love to help you with your LinkedIn profile. So thank you, Larry and Lynn, for this opportunity. And right now, would love to screen any kind of questions you may have on things I spoke about today, or whether it was last Friday. Do any of you have any questions that I can help with? There's about 15 of you. I know you have questions.
So, Chris, this is Lynn. I actually see some questions in the chat box, and I don't know if since I'm co-hosting, you can't see them.
Okay, you know what? I do. I've got it up now. Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to jump through this question. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it. If you delete connections, do you get those invites back also? Gosh, that is a fantastic question. If you delete connections, do you get those invites back? I don't know that question. I haven't, I don't know the answer to that question. So I'm assuming if you get connected with somebody, if you delete the connection, can that increase your free invites? I don't know. That's probably one of the first times I've ever been stumped. I would think on LinkedIn Help, you might be able to get that answer. Can you get all the stats even with the free service, or do you need a premium membership? So premium will give you more stats. Premium will give you more access to the data that allows you to make effective decisions through networking and the value of LinkedIn. So you're going to have some limits, quite a few for free versus premium service on LinkedIn. So someone commented, I've noticed that every time certain people in my network connect with others, LinkedIn announces that. Is that necessary? Should I want that information announced to my connections? So that's a great question. So you need to go under privacy settings, which is very visible. If you go into your LinkedIn account, just in the top right-hand corner of your LinkedIn uh, toolbar, and you can shut that off. You don't have to make that visible unless you want it to be visible. So, so no, you don't have to announce to everybody. But you can announce it, or at least you can toggle that to be on if you want, but you can usually toggle it off as well. Is it good to show yourself open to opportunities to all, or just recruiters? Thank you. Uh, so someone asked a really good question around that. So within LinkedIn, there is an option to uh, toggle the option to be visible to recruiters or to people who are like hiring managers. Um, I would say if you're ever interested in knowing what your market value is, or would be open to opportunities, I say make that visible. If you if you're like if you want to be very visible about your next opportunity and put it on your LinkedIn profile, open to opportunities, you can do that too. I don't know, as a recruiter, and forgive the analogy, but I don't know if I don't think it's that attractive to be very on your sleeve about looking for a job. You can do it in a covert way. It's kind of like the kids, you know, who are desperate, and it's kind of a law of attraction. When you are not desperate, you tend to attract more opportunities. But when you act desperate and overly communicate your need for your next job, it doesn't. I don't think it creates a desire of attraction for employers and agencies. We tend to ask what's wrong when someone overly communicates their desire for opportunity. So I think make yourself attractive, make yourself very self-aware, have a great LinkedIn profile, be strong in networking and building relationship, and express your desire for opportunity that way versus have it plastered in your professional headline, I'm looking for a job or actively looking for a job. I don't think that actually is very attractive, you know, personally, professionally speaking. Is there still a feature in LinkedIn to notify recruiters that you are looking for other opportunities? Yes, there is. In LinkedIn, as I just mentioned, there is a button that you can turn on that will tell us specifically, but we only know that two ways. We know that by going to your LinkedIn profile, and within LinkedIn Recruiter, um, we can search for folks who do have that button on for people who are looking for their next opportunity. So I hope that makes sense. Other good questions, guys? Would love to answer any other questions. There's no bad questions. If you want to ask questions about last week or something I didn't talk about today, please do. Don't be bashful. I receive a lot of invites to accept a connection from people I don't know, particularly from people who are looking for a job. Should I accept them? That's a great question. So what I would say is this. If it's a value of yours to connect with high value connections, then yes, I would accept those. If you are If you're in the business of helping people get jobs, then maybe you should. Um, I guess why are a lot of people coming to you looking for jobs? Unless you're a hiring manager, I guess is my thought. So the person who posted that question, um, if if you're in a position of hiring or responsibility and you're getting approached by a lot of people looking for jobs, you could talk to those people because maybe you do have an opportunity you're looking for to fill and you're not getting quality candidates through your normal channels. Um, or maybe there is a very attractive candidate who fits more of the criteria of what you're looking for. It's up to you. It's a judgment call. It depends on how available you want to be. It depends on if you're hiring or you would be hiring, or if there's somebody that's could be a very attractive candidate down the road that you would want to get to know. But yeah, we're always going to be solicited to. The question is using that filter of what's a good use of your time and does it make strategic sense to connect with that person? Other questions? Those are good questions. Don't be bashful. Um, yeah, you're welcome. Okay, that person just replied and said they are hiring manager. Should you publish graduation years? Very good question. I was hoping someone would bring this up. And if you didn't bring it up, I'd talk about it next session. So it is a classic situation where someone who has been a tenured lawyer, being politically correct, someone who has a lot of great experience, but they're afraid to, to sound like they are quote unquote too old. And I want to, I have an honesty policy in my line of work, and I want to kind of pose this idea to all of you who are afraid to post your month and your graduation year of when you became a lawyer. It's going to come up regardless, and I would rather own your experience and your age than try to hide it. You bring value, and and here's my philosophy behind this and why I'm so adamant about putting very specific kinds of content on your LinkedIn profile. Think of it this way, guys. You want to attract the employers, the agencies, the opportunities that are the right fit for you, and you want to push away or repel the ones that are not. And um, it's your time's important. And although you would like to know if you are receiving opportunities, do you really want people to come to you only to maybe reject you because of too much experience, or you weren't entirely truthful about, or you weren't fully disclosing everything about your experience? So I would be very adamant, because here's the thing though, employers still look for very tenured attorneys. The right employers do. And if you remain visible, and if you're networking and you're doing the things I talk about, you're going to attract the opportunities that are really going to be worth your time. And even if you don't disclose those things and you make it more activity to you, you're going to probably deal with some disappointment of rejection, which is part of life, but it's only because maybe you weren't fully truthful. And um, I encourage you to, yeah, just be genuine, to put yourself out there. And um, people will value you for who you are and what you bring to the table. And I'm all about disclosing in advance versus waiting to disclose. And there's always exceptions to this, of course. But it's kind of like with pictures too. Uh, it happens often where you post a picture that's 10, 20 years younger than you are. Um, I say get really great pictures, but you don't have to, post those kinds of pictures. It's good to see who you are and what you bring to the table, because there are employers that value the uh, the ample amount of experience that you bring, and there's going to be employers that are going to want someone who's more seasoned than somebody else. And employers tend to have specific things in mind. So I hope that's helpful. So thank you for the kind words that you're sharing. Um, I would love to be a resource to 3, 4 of you who um, are would like me to kind of walk you through your LinkedIn profile. If you're kind of stuck from last Friday and you'd like more practical application of what I help folks with, please email me. In that email, I'm going to just post it in the chat session here. It's chris@findthelions.com. Let me know if you'd like me to walk you through your LinkedIn profile. What will happen is, based on those who are interested, I'll probably do it on a first come, first serve basis. And I would on Wednesday, I'm gonna take you and make you live. So we're gonna be talking together and walking you through your profile. And those of you who you volunteer, um, your situation will help others. So I'm looking for a couple of those courageous types that'll allow me to help you make your profile better, and we can kind of share as a community. So it's been a pleasure. I hope you guys have a wonderful, beautiful weather this week. I think today in Kansas City it's in the mid 70s. We're pretty fortunate. So stay healthy, safe, have a wonderful summer. I do hope to see all of you on Wednesday, and do hope to get some emails from you. So,
Chris, thank you.
yeah,
On behalf of all of us, this was a great session. Lots
awesome.
of fantastic ideas for improving our profiles. I will be sending out the slides from this session later today, as well as a survey, and I will send out Chris's email. So if you would like him to help you with your profile on Wednesday, please let him know or let me know, and I will let him know. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, especially Chris, for this great presentation. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Law Firm Leadership Podcast. It's easy to find. Follow us on our LinkedIn company page. We'd love to have reasons to stay in touch. Feel free to send me LinkedIn invites. Would love to connect with you. And then I look forward to seeing everybody next Wednesday. So let's see here. I'm going to end. All right. And I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
So long.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Monday. Take care.